Part 36. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 351. Therefore, Lu Shiqian decided to join forces with other forces to attack Yangzhou, and he knew that Du Fuwei and Fu Gonggayu of Zhonghuai and hailing Chu King Li Zitong had also coveted Yangzhou for a long time. So after some tangles, he sent a secret letter to the two forces and agreed to form an alliance to jointly attack the Shenlong Empire. After the Dragon Kingdom was eliminated, each of them would take over Wuxing and Yangzhou based on their own abilities. Just as Lu Shiqian thought, Li Zitong and Du Fuwei were also very jealous of Yangzhou, but they did not take action for the time being because they were not opponents of the Dragon Kingdom. Therefore, when Lu Shiqian's secret letter was delivered, both of them believed that forming an alliance was a feasible solution, so they immediately replied to express their agreement and agreed to attack Yangzhou together. The next day, Lu Feng was practicing behind closed doors in the Yangzhou city lord's mansion. After having the mini-luck golden dragon fused with the national jade seal, Lu Feng's practice as the Dragon Emperor greatly accelerated, and he became even more obsessed with practice. Although he had just arrived in the world of the Sui and Tang dynasties, and all forces were eyeing him, Lu Feng was not worried. After all, Guojia was in charge of military deployment, Sun Yu was in charge of government affairs in Yangzhou and Wuxing, and General Zhao Yun and other Wolong generals were in charge of training the army. Instead, he himself became the hands-off shopkeeper, and he was most at ease all day long. However, Lu Feng meditated in the room for a while, and then he heard Guojia's voice. "Your Majesty, the edict of Emperor Yang of the Sui dynasty finally came into effect after so many days." Lu Feng listened and opened his eyes. With his eyes, he found that Guojia had come to his side, holding a wine gourd and looking at him with a smile on his face. So Lu Feng asked, "Why, are you coming to attack Yangzhou?" Guojia nodded and said yes, and they are not the ones who came. According to the spies, Shi Qian, the first bandit in Dongyang, Li Zitong, the king of Chu in Hailing, and Du Fuwei, the leader of Zhonghuai, the three parties have formed an alliance, and a total of 150,000 troops have arrived outside Yangzhou city. After hearing Guojia's words, Lu Feng laughed and scolded. "The three parties have formed an alliance with a total of 150,000 troops to attack us, but Feng Xiao is with a smile on his face. Could it be a benefit?" Guojia naturally knew that Lu Feng was joking, so he sipped his wine and said with a smile, "Isn't Jia excited? It has been quiet for so many days. If no one comes again, by attacking us, when will the reputation of the Shenlong Empire be established?" Lu Feng laughed loudly after hearing this, stood up and said, "Let's go and have a look at the city wall." Then the two of them came to the city wall together, and they could already seeing a dark area not far away. It was obvious that many people were coming from the other side. Except for Lu Buletin, who was stationed in Wuxing County, the other four generals of the five dragons were all present on the city wall. Lu Feng turned to Ma Chao and Zhao Yun and said, "Meng Qi, Zilong, you two take the Dragon City cavalry and Bama Yi from the city to meet the enemy. Dian Wei and Han Sheng, you take the Longwu soldiers and Longbo soldiers defend the city." The four people immediately clasped their fists in response, and then Zhao Yun and Ma Chao walked away. Immediately afterwards, the Yangzhou city gate opened, and Zhao Yun and Ma Chao came out with a total of 6,000 cavalry. Soon, the three-party coalition forces also arrived at the foot of Yangzhou city. Among the 150,000 troops, three large flags were erected, each with the three characters Lu, Li, and Du embroidered in small seal script. The 150,000 allied troops came 200 steps away from Ma Chao and Zhao Yun, listened, and confronted Bama Yikong and Long Cheng cavalry. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 352. Lu Shiqian looked at the 6,000 cavalry under Yangzhou city and said contemptuously to the two people around him, this Shenlong Empire is really so arrogant. They think they can stop it with just these few thousand cavalry. Can they withstand our 150,000 strong army? Li Zitong stroked his beard and said seriously, Brother Lu, don't underestimate the enemy. His Shenlong Empire was able to defeat Shenfaxing's 100,000 strong army only with the help of the black armored and black horse cavalry and their bows and arrows. And it is said that Wuxing County was breached by that team of white horse cavalry, so their combat effectiveness must not be underestimated. After Li Zitong finished speaking, Du Fuwei also nodded in agreement. Yes, not only these two team of cavalry, can you see the two generals at the head? The tall general in white robes and armor on the left is the one who led the troops into Wuxing city that day. It is said that his martial arts skills are very good, and he killed Shenfaxing Liu in 2 moves. Lieutenant General Wang, who was guarding Wuxing County. As for the young general with silver armor and black horse, it is said that he was even more powerful. Not only did he pick off 4 generals, Shenfaxing, but he also personally led 3,000 black armored cavalry to cripple Shenfaxing's 100,000 strong army. The chase reached Wuxing County. It was these two people who killed Shenfaxing in the end. After hearing what Li Zitong and Du Fuwei said, Lu Shiqian still smiled indifferently, and then said, 2 brothers, it makes sense. If the Dragon Kingdom can achieve such achievements in such a short period of time, it must have some powerful generals. The general riding the white horse looks majestic and must have some real skills. He may not be easy to deal with, but the general riding the black horse, the young general, looks to be only 14 or 15 years old, but you don't a Euro trademark T necessarily need to be afraid of him. How powerful a little kid can be, I a Euro trademark am afraid eat a Euro trademark S because the generals under his command are not capable enough and deliberately find excuses to brag about it. At this time, Ma Chao also raised his spear and jumped on his horse. He pointed at Lu Shiqian and others and shouted, a certain person is a disciple of the Dragon Emperor Lu Feng of the Shenlong Empire, and also a general of the left under his command, Ma Chao and Ma Menqi. Who else dares to fight with such a traitor? Speaking of which, with his red lips, eyes like shooting stars, and a silver helmet and golden spear, he looked majestic. After hearing Ma Chao's words, Lu Shiqian was stunned for a moment, then laughed loudly and said, with just over 20,000 troops, you dare to call yourself a bullshit Shenlong Empire? I have hundreds of thousands of troops under my command, and I don't even say that I am a king. As for this bullshit General Zhou, eat a Euro trademark S, just a title for you to play with. Don't a Euro trademark T show off your authority here. Just call out your master, the Dragon Emperor, and lead a Euro trademark S, all have a fight. It will save my soldiers from not knowing the importance of their actions and accidentally kill you, and your master will come to take revenge. After listening to Lu Shiqian's words, Ma Chao knew that he was deliberately using the stimulating method to irritate him, so he was not angry. Just cursed, you are so verbose, like a bitch. Do you want to fight or not? If not, go back to where you came from. Don't be embarrassed here. If you want to fight, just get over here and let me. The golden gun in my hand also needs some blood. Lu Shiqian saw that Ma Chao was not deceived by his aggressive tactics, so he turned to Li Zitong and Du Fuwei and said, you two, which one of us will send someone up? Li Zitong originally didn't believe that Ma Chao could be so powerful at such a young age, but he also felt that since it was said that he had outstanding martial arts, it might not be groundless, so he felt a little entangled in his heart. Filu reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 353. So in order to test Ma Chao's martial arts, Li Zitong deliberately said to Lu Shiqian, since he can be famous, he must not be a weakling. Brother Lu should be careful. Each of us sends one person. Let's besiege him. After hearing Li Zitong's words, Lu Shiqian said indifferently, it's a joke, he is a little kid and we need to send 3 people to besiege him. Even if he wins and spreads it, it will be ridiculous. Old Li, old Du, don't worry, I'll send someone to teach that little kid a lesson so that our 3-party coalition can get off to a good start after. Lu Shiqian finished speaking, he turned to look at the group of generals behind him and asked, who? Do you dare to kill this little kid so that everyone can see the strength of my Dongyang hero? After Lu Shiqian finished speaking, a burly man with a sturdy back said, rest in peace, Chief, I'm going to kill that little kid's head right now. Cut it down and use it as a chamber pot for the leader. After saying that, the big man rushed out on his horse, waving the long knife in his hand and rushing towards Ma Chao. Although everyone said that this kid named Ma Chao killed 4 generals under Shen Faxing, which was really powerful, but after all, they had not seen it with their own eyes, and they did not believe it for a teenage child. What's more, every general has arrogance in his heart and thinks that he is better than others. If Shen Faxing's generals can't beat a child, that's because they don't have the ability, and he is not as cowardly as them. If even a child doesn't dare to step forward to fight when he calls for battle, where will the generals' faces be when the news spreads? So the big man rushed out first without thinking too much. However, Ma Chao was one of Liu Bei's 5 tiger generals in history, and he was one of the most famous generals throughout the late Han Dynasty and the Three Kingdoms period. In this life, he passed through Lu Feng's career transfer hall and entered the ranks of military generals at a young age. How could he lose to this inferior general? So when he saw the big man charging towards him, he didn't say much and faced him with his gun. When the big man saw Ma Chao coming towards him, he wanted to defeat Ma Chao with all his strength by relying on his age and size advantages. But if it was a competition of strength, how could Ma Chao be afraid of this little-known little character like him? The big man slashed from top to bottom, while Ma Chao swiped horizontally with his gun in one hand. Hearing a bang sound, the big man's sword collided violently with Ma Chao's tiger-headed golden gun. He felt a huge force coming from him. He couldn't hold the long sword, so he just held it and flew out. However, Ma Chao knocked away the opponent's weapon with one blow, and the tiger-headed Zhan's golden gun continued unabated, and went straight to the opponent's neck to sweep it. The sharp tip of the tiger-headed golden gun was seen swiping past the strong man's throat. Then the strong man covered his throat with both hands, but he couldn't stop the blood from pouring out of his neck. Immediately afterwards, the strong man coughed violently, and blood spurted out from his mouth. The next second, the strong man tilted his head and fell under the horse, twitched a few times and then stopped moving. Ma Chao killed the enemy general with one move, then looked at Lu Shiqian and said, this man is too weak. With an army of hundreds of thousands of you, can't you find someone who is a little more powerful? Lu Shiqian's face was gloomy. Looking at Ma Chao, although this strong man was not the strongest among his men, he was still somewhat brave for daring to be the first to kill. Unexpectedly, he was unable to catch this little kid's move. It seemed that he did underestimate him. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 354. Lu Shiqian looked at the strong man who had fallen to the ground and had long since lost his breath. He felt regretful and angry at the same time. He had known that he would not have said such big words just now. When he thought of what he had just said, Lu Shiqian wished he could slap himself in the mouth, which would make people laugh a lot more. However, although Lu Shiqian was so angry that he wanted to send all his generals to kill Ma Chao on the spot, he still retained a trace of sanity. He knew that if he sent everyone up, even if he could kill Ma Chao, with his martial arts, these generals under him would inevitably lose some more, which was obviously not something he could bear. After all, although the current alliance of three people seems to be harmonious, in fact, everyone has evil intentions. Because they all know that although they are united to fight against the Dragon Kingdom, once they defeat the Dragon Kingdom, this temporary alliance will immediately collapse, and they will go their own ways and fight to occupy Yangzhou. Therefore, Lu Shiqian must preserve his strength. If he loses his troops now, even if he defeats the Shenlong Empire, he will not be able to compete with Li Zitong and Du Fuwei for Yangzhou. Therefore, Lu Shiqian suppressed the anger in his heart and smiled bitterly at Li Zitong and Du Fuwei. You just underestimated this kid and lost a strong general. The current result is enough to show that this man, his bravery is not spread by rumors. From what I see, this kid cannot be defeated by one person. I hope that the two of you can kill him with masters from each faction after. Lu Shiqian said this. Li Zitong and Li Zitong glanced at him, thinking in their hearts how could they not know what he was thinking. The reason why they didn't send anyone to fight just now was because they had the same concerns as Lu Shiqian. However, judging from the current situation, it is impossible to defeat Ma Chao with one person, so sending one person from each team to fight, as Lu Shiqian said, should be the best way. So Li Zitong and Du Fuwei each sent a general with superior force from their own army and rode their horses to kill Ma Chao. Ma Chao waited in front of the formation for a long time, but no one came forward to fight again. He was getting a little impatient when he suddenly saw two people charging towards him. He suddenly felt happy and shouted, "Well done, let me take a shot from you." Ma Chao also raised his gun and faced him. The martial arts of these two people were obviously better than that of the strong man just now. The two of them joined forces and were able to withstand Ma Chao's three moves. Although they were in a hurry, they were not defeated. After three moves, Ma Chao fended off the two men and said, "The warm-up is over here, let you see my strength." After saying that, the marksmanship in Ma Chao's hand instantly became a little faster, and before the two people could react, he fired. Two spears were thrust out, and the two men were directly thrown off the horse. Seeing that the people they sent could not defeat this young general together, Li Zitong and Du Fuwei frowned, obviously not expecting that the other party would be so difficult to deal with. Lu Feng stood on the city wall and watched Ma Chao showing off his might. Although he was happy with Ma Chao's growth, he did not show it because he knew that Li Zitong should have two powerful generals, Wu Yunzhao and Wu Tiangzi, under his command. These two men were the 5th and 6th fierce generals of the Sui and Tang dynasties respectively. When they went to battle, it would be the real challenge since the army came to the Sui and Tang dynasties. Filu reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 355. Sure enough, after Li Zitong thought for a moment, he said to a general behind him, "Wu Tiangzi, go to the battle and capture this little kid." Wu Tiangzi saw Ma Chao's strong force and had long ago his hands were a little itchy. At this time, after receiving Li Zitong's order, he naturally stepped out of the crowd, clasped his fists and said, "I have the order." As he spoke, Ma Chao saw another general coming out of the opponent's formation, but this man was a foot tall. Zhang, carrying a half-moon Huntian tong, and riding a black horse under his crotch, he looked like a fierce general, definitely not comparable to the previous minions. Seeing this man rushing out on horseback, Ma Chao knew that this was the battle to show his true strength. He was about to ask the other party's name, but he didn't expect that the other party relied on the speed of his horse to rush forward directly. Hun Tianlu was also facing him. Ma Chao hit him on the head. Ma Chao didn't expect that the other party would attack without saying a word. He was a little unprepared at the moment and hurriedly raised his gun to resist. Then there was a loud noise, and Ma Chao and his horse took 3 steps back. The hand holding the gun was trembling. He did not expect that the other party would have such great strength. The generals of the Dragon Kingdom are all very aware of Ma Chao's military force. Although he has the weakest military force among the 5 dragon generals, he is definitely one of the 5 most powerful people in the entire Shenlong dynasty besides Lu Feng. The most important thing is that he is only 14 years old at this time and has such martial arts skills that his future is limitless. Moreover, Ma Chao is not only highly skilled in martial arts, but his own strength is also abnormal. In the entire Shenlong Empire, except for Lu Feng and the other 4 generals of Wolong, only Taishi Ci can compete with him. But even so, just now, Fang was able to force Ma Chao back 3 steps, and seeing that Ma Chao's hand holding the gun couldn't help shaking, it was obvious that he had endured a lot of force. After originally killing 100,000 Shenfaxing and conquering a county within 3 days, everyone thought that the martial arts of the Sui and Tang dynasty general was just like this and not as evil as before Lu Feng. However, when they saw this leader, they realized that what Lu Feng said was true, but they had never met a powerful general before. Lu Feng stood on the city wall, squinting at the other general. He was obviously not an unknown person with such martial arts skills, especially the dazzling Han Tianlu. This person must be Wu Tianzi. So Lu Feng said to Dian Wei, Huang Zhong, and Guojiao beside him, this man is Wu Tianzi, who ranks 6th among the 18 heroes in the world during the Sui and Tang dynasties. He was born with supernatural power. It is said that the Han Tiantu weighed 200 kilograms. After Lu Feng finished speaking, Dian Wei and the others gasped. Although Dian Wei also has natural supernatural power and can wield 200 kilograms of weapons, but if he wants to take advantage of it like Wu Tianzi, he can't. Not an easy task. Thinking of this, everyone couldn't help but sweat for Ma Chao. While everyone in the Dragon Kingdom was marveling at Wu Tianzi's magical power, Wu Tianzi also looked at Ma Chao in surprise and said, "You can count on one hand the number of people in the world who can take my full blow. But just now, although I used 80% of my strength, but it is not easy for you to continue at such a young age. However, if I had used all my strength just now, I am afraid you would have been lying on the ground. Seeing that you are not old and have such understanding, why not worship me? As a teacher, under my guidance, within 10 years, you will definitely be among the top 10 in the world." To read the underlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 356. Ma Chao was surprised when he heard Wu Tianzi's words. He didn't expect that the opponent only used 80% of his strength to hit him until he could hardly hold the gun. However, although he was surprised, Ma Chao did not show it, but said disdainfully, "I saw that you have an extraordinary temperament, and you must not be an unknown person. I was about to ask you your name, but I didn't expect you to come up and hit me. I was caught off guard and let you go. You took advantage. I thought you were an upright person, but I didn't expect that you are quite powerful in sneak attacks." Wu Tianzi also felt a blush after hearing Ma Chao's words. He just thought of Ma Chao killing 3 people in a row, and being extremely arrogant. So I wanted to give him some color, so I hurriedly took action. Now that I think about it, the other person is just a teenager, and I am indeed a little anxious. However, Ma Chao's ability to have such martial arts at such a young age really makes him want to recruit a disciple. So Wu Tianzi said, under the command of the king of Chu, Wu Tianzi, the pioneer general, is rated as the 6th best general in the world. Boy, as long as you worship me as your teacher, your future is limitless. However, Ma Chao had already slowed down at this time, and his hands were no longer moving. He was trembling again, so he said to Wu Tianzi, "I am only the 6th in the world, what is there to be arrogant about? My master is the Dragon Emperor Lu Feng, he is a truly invincible general in the world, not much better than you, the little 6th. Wu Tianzi sincerely wanted to accept Ma Chao as his apprentice, but he didn't want to be humiliated by Ma Chao, so he said angrily, "Good boy, if you don't drink a toast, you will be punished with a fine drink. In this case, I will arrest you first, Fu come and save you, lead a Euro trademark see if he, who is unparalleled in the world, can catch my 3 moves of Hun Tien Tuesday." Ma Chao was very concerned about Lu Feng, and when he saw that Wu Tianzi dared to be disrespectful to his teacher, he immediately responded, "Why should I give in to you? My master comes out and kills you as long as you don't make a sneak attack." Wu Tianzi has never been an angry person, so when he saw Ma Chao being so stubborn, he immediately became murderous and charged again with Hun Chen Tu. At this time, Ma Chao already knew that the opponent was very powerful and was probably superior to him, so he did not fight Wu Tianzi head-on, but relied on his own martial arts to deal with him. Ma Chao's marksmanship was inherited from Fubo General Ma Yuan's Ma Jieqiang. After going through the job transfer hall, the Ma Jieqiang became even more sophisticated. This time he used it like a violent storm, which frightened Wu Tianzi. Wu Tianzi did not expect that Ma Chao would have such martial arts at such a young age. This shooting technique was exquisite and different from many flashy shooting techniques circulated in the world. This was a real killing technique. He was caught off guard and was almost stabbed by Ma Chao. So Wu Tianzi put away his contempt and used all his strength to concentrate on the battle. Ma Chao originally relied on his exquisite marksmanship to get around Wu Tianzi. The two fought back and forth and were extremely exciting. However, as Wu Tianzi became serious, Ma Chao suddenly felt great pressure. After all, this is what is said. However, Ma Chao is obviously fired up. He made his debut at the age of 9. Except for the Liangzhou rebellion when he besieged Lu Feng with Pang De and Yan Xing and was captured alive by Lu Feng, he has never lost a single duel. The strong heart that he had cultivated over a long period of time made Ma Chao feel a little angry in his heart. Filu reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 357. He knew that the opponent's weapon was far heavier than his Tiger Head Zanjin gun. In this case, his offensive would be resolved by his huge power. If he didn't fight hard, he would. It is difficult to defeat an opponent with martial arts skills. Moreover, the Ma's gun is exquisite and complex, and it takes a lot of energy to use it well. When time goes by and your physical strength is exhausted, you are likely to be defeated. Thinking of this, Ma Chao decided not to just rely on his marksmanship to harass the opponent, but began to use all his strength to fight Wu Tianzi head-on. Although Wu Tianzi only used 80% of his strength to hit Ma Chao 3 steps back, it was also because Ma Chao was not prepared enough. If he was ready to take the move Wu Tianzi just made, he would definitely not take 1 step back. After making up his mind, Ma Chao no longer hesitated and immediately confronted Wu Tianzi head-on. Wu Tianzi had just been wandering around the outside because Ma Chao did not confront him head-on. So although he had the upper hand, he was also playing very uncomfortable, as if every blow was hitting cotton. At this time, Ma Chao changed his tactical style and faced him head-on, which also made him feel comfortable. So Wu Tianzi once again used all his strength, trying to overwhelm others with strength, using his huge advantage in strength to defeat Ma Chao with the help of the 200 kilograms of Hun Chen Tu. But after the fight at this time, Wu Tianzi was surprised to find that he had just used 80% of his strength to knock Ma Chao back 3 steps. Now that he was using his full strength, Ma Chao was able to compete with him. It seems that this boy's strength is not weak. He was knocked back a few steps just now because he was not prepared. Thinking of this, Wu Tianzi was secretly frightened. He was still young. Not only was his martial arts and marksmanship so exquisite, but his strength was not much worse than his own. And he seems to be very loyal to his master, the Dragon Emperor. If this continues, he will definitely become a big problem in the future, and he must kill him before he fully grows up. The battle between Wu Tianzi and Ma Chao shocked the soldiers of the three-way coalition and the Long Kingdom who were watching. After hearing Lu Feng's introduction, Dian Wei and others knew that Wu Tianzi was powerful, but as a peerless general, they all wanted to go down and fight with him. But Li Zitong and others were really shocked. They all knew Wu Tianzi's strength, but they didn't expect that Ma Chao, at such a young age, could actually fight Wu Tianzi for nearly 100 rounds. Although he was clearly at a disadvantage, he remained undefeated like a rock struck by waves. Such a confrontation between two top generals made the soldiers of the three-way alliance very enjoyable. Wu Tianzi was frightened, and Ma Chao was not feeling well either. Although he gritted his teeth and withstood Wu Tianzi's offensive, the opponent's strength was indeed superior to his, and the Hunchen Tong was really a sharp weapon. The weight of it plus Wu Tianzi's strength made Ma Chao feel frightened. If it weren't for the tiger-headed golden gun in his hand, which was also a magic weapon, Wu Tianzi would have cut it off long ago. However, when he thought of the tiger-head Zhan golden gun, Ma Chao suddenly came up with a plan. This tiger-head Zhan golden gun was made of meteorite iron. It was extremely strong and had enough elasticity after being processed by a new caster. Wu Tianzi is very strong, so can he use the elasticity of this tiger-headed golden gun to fight against the enemy? To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 358. After thinking of a countermeasure, Ma Chao did not say anything, but continued to grit his teeth and fight Wu Tianzi with all his strength, asking him to use all his strength to fight against him. At this time, Wu Tianzi had already developed murderous intentions towards Ma Chao. He wielded the 200 Jin Hunchen Tong, and his moves showed extremely explosive power when opened and closed. Suddenly, Ma Chao seemed to be exhausted after taking dozens of Wu Tianzi's moves with all his strength, and a huge flaw was revealed. Seeing this flaw, everyone showed different expressions. Although Lu Feng was worried, he knew that Ma Chao would not reveal such obvious flaws even if he was exhausted. He must have some plans for this move. Zhao Yun, who was under the city, was also very confused when he saw it. As a master of using guns, Zhao Yun naturally knew Ma Chao's strength and could also see that Ma Chao's flaw appeared at an inappropriate time. However, Guojia didn't know much about martial arts, Huang Zhong didn't know much about marksmanship, and Dian Wei was simple and straightforward and didn't understand strategies, so they all thought Ma Chao was weak because of lack of physical strength, and were very anxious about it. Huang Zhong had even prepared his bow and arrow. As long as Wu Tianzi threatened Ma Chao's life, his arrow would inevitably penetrate into Wu Tianzi's throat first. In the opposing camp, Li Zitong, Du Fuwei, Lu Shiqian, and all their generals were all delighted when they saw Ma Chao's obvious flaw, thinking that this arrogant boy was finally defeated. Only the Grand Marshal Wu Yunzhao under Li Zitong felt a little strange because he was an expert with spears, but he couldn't tell what was wrong. As for Wu Tianzi, after a fierce attack, he finally saw a fleeting opportunity to win. Naturally, he swung the Hunchen Tao without hesitation and hit Ma Chao on the head with 200% of his strength. If this blow were carried out, Ma Chao's body would be punched into the chest even if it was not shattered. Upon seeing this, Huang Zhong hurriedly aimed at 11 and prepared to fire an arrow, but was stopped by Lu Feng on the side. Huang Zhong looked at Lu Feng in surprise, wondering why he stopped him from rescuing Ma Chao. However, before Huang Zhong and Lu Feng could speak, Ma Chao seemed to have calculated that Wu Tianzi would chop Wu Tianzi on the head with the Hun Tianzi, and actually raised the tiger-headed golden gun with both hands, and an overlord came to carry the cauldron. Although Li Zitong and others reacted when they saw Ma Chao and used their guns to resist, looking at the thin gun body and comparing it with Wu Tianzi's heavy Hun Tianzi, they seemed to have seen Wu Tianzi split Ma Chao and his men in two with his gun. Half-like. Then, there was a loud noise and a surprising scene happened. Ma Chao stood intact, not even taking a step back. Only his golden gun was shaking up and down at an extremely fast pace, while Wu Tianzi, including his horse and man, took 7 or 8 steps back. Faced with such a result, not only Li Zitong and others were shocked, but Dianwei, Huangzhong and others also looked in disbelief. Huangzhong looked at Lu Feng and asked, "Your Majesty just stopped me from shooting an arrow. Did he know that Meng Qi could block Wu Tianzi's blow?" Lu Feng said with a smile, "I just felt that Meng Qi's flaw appeared too abruptly. Guessed that he must have some plan to deliberately expose the flaw. You see, Zilong under the city did not move. He must be a master of using guns. He also saw that Meng Qi's flaw was somewhat obvious _ Fei. Lu reminded you, 3 things to do when reading, collect and recommend. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 359. I just didn't expect that he would use the elasticity of the Tiger Head Zhan golden gun to counter Wu Tianzi's fatal blow. When Wu Tianzi saw the opportunity just now, he must have used more strength than usual. Now that he was bounced back, he must have suffered some internal injuries. I'm afraid he would not be Meng Qi's opponent. On the other side, Wu Tianzi was shocked when he was knocked back by the Hutiou Zhan golden spear. Even if he exerted more force, he could feel that his muscles and veins were slightly injured after being knocked back. He originally thought that Ma Chao was just good at martial arts and marksmanship. And the strength is not weak, although he is wary, he is not too worried. But after what happened just now, Wu Tianzi suddenly realized that he was afraid that his flaw just now was deliberately leaked to himself, and the purpose was to use the elasticity of the tiger-headed spear to shock himself. Thinking of this, Wu Tianzi's heart has aroused extremely murderous intent towards Ma Chao, and even has a hint of fear. This boy is not very old, but not only his martial arts and marksmanship are inferior to his own go-up, and this scheming is even more profound. He can think of ways to reverse the situation during the battle, and the weapon in his hand is also an absolute magic weapon. But before Wu Tianzi could finish thinking about it, Ma Chao had already rushed forward. The two of them had just during the fight, Wu Tianzi took advantage of Ma Chao's unpreparedness to attack suddenly, shocking Ma Chao with such force that he could hardly hold his weapon. But perhaps because Wu Tianzi had absolute confidence in himself, and Ma Chao was young, it did not arouse Wu Tianzi's anger. However, Ma Chao was different. He already knew his strength and managed to get him hurt. If he was given a chance to recover, he would never be able to defeat the opponent again. So, Ma Chao did not hesitate. To kill you, beating up a drowned dog is what a child of his age likes the most. Ma Chao rushed forward with the tiger head Zhan in hand, once again used the Ma family's marksmanship, and launched a violent attack on Wu Tianzi. On the other hand, Wu Tianzi was unable to exert all his strength because his muscles had just been injured by the force of the counterattack. He could only use 60% of his usual strength. Although it was only 60%, Ma Chao had just gone through dozens of rounds. Even with all his strength to defend and attack, he didn't have much stamina anymore, so he couldn't gain the upper hand in terms of strength. However, relying on Ma's marksmanship, Ma Chao was still able to suppress Wu Tianzi, who was unable to use his full strength to fight, leaving Wu Tianzi without any chance to fight back. Power. However, as a peerless general, Wu Tianzi would not be easily defeated. Even if he could only use 60% of his strength, he could defend it airtight. On the other side, Li Zitong saw that Wu Tianzi seemed to be injured after the shock just now. He was injured secretly and was already at a disadvantage. He was overpowered by the horse and was beaten. He was suddenly frightened. After all, Wu Tianzi was not only a strong man under his command, but also a man who would seize Yangzhou and Wuxing County in the future, and even compete for the capital of the world in the future. 10 million, it can't be folded here. So Li Zitong hurriedly turned around and said to Wu Yunzhao, the first general under his command: Yunzhao, you can also fight. If Ma Chao can capture him, capture him. If he can't capture him, join forces with Tian 11 to kill him. Wu Yunzhao nodded immediately and said yes. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 360. Wu Yun summoned Li Zitong's order and immediately rushed out with the 8-foot-long bright silver snake spear, hoping to join forces with Wu Tiangzi to besiege Ma Chao. At this time, Ma Chao and Wu Tiangzi had fought for more than 200 rounds, and they were already exhausted. If Wu Yunzhao rushed up and joined forces with Wu Tiangzi, Ma Chao would definitely lose. However, although Li Zitong had a good idea, he forgot that Ma Chao was not the only one in the Dragon Kingdom to fight. Wu Yun summoned the general in white robes and armor riding a white horse from Yangzhou City to rush out. Wu Yunzhao has a face like purple jade, eyes like bright stars, a body 8 feet long, and a beard 3 feet long on both cheeks. He rides a knight-shining jade lion on his crotch, and holds a 8-foot-long bright silver snake spear in his hand. He is extremely fast. Zhao Yun also has thick eyebrows and big eyes, a broad face and a heavy forehead. He is 8 feet long and majestic. He holds a silver gentian spear and a magnolia and white dragon colt under his crotch. He is dressed very similar to Wu Yunzhao. Especially the weapons used by the two of them, a bright silver snake spear, a bright silver gun, plus the mounts under their crotches. Zhao Yun's magnolia white dragon colt also has one, but it is the Yezhao jade lion. It can be said that the two are just the right match. You will meet good talents. On the Yangzhou city wall, Huang Zhong saw that the general who came out from the other side had a dignified appearance, and he was no ordinary person at first glance, so he asked, Your Majesty, I see that this general who came out from the other side is also quite extraordinary. I don't know who this person is. Where did it come from? After Huang Zhong asked, Dian Wei and Guojia also looked at Lu Feng, ready to listen to Lu Feng's introduction. After all, only by knowing yourself and the enemy can you win every battle. Lu Fengmai was also looking at him. When Huang Zhong asked about it, he said, looking at this man's dress, he must be Wu Yunzhao, who ranks 5th among the 18 heroes in the world. This man is Wu Tiangzi's cousin, but he is not as strong as Wu Tiangzi. But to be stronger, it should not be underestimated, especially the 8-foot-long bright silver snake spear that also weighs 1. Look at the silver helmet with phoenix wings on his head, wearing the silver armor of dragon scales, and the white robe of a python dragon on his body. Riding a white horse. Holding a silver gun, and dressed so similar to Zilong, maybe he dressed up like this because he was an idol, haha. As Lu Feng was talking, Zhao Yun and Wu Yunzhao had already rushed to Ma Chao at the same time. With Wu Tiangzi. Wu Yunzhao wanted to follow Li Zitong's order and kill Ma Chao together with Wu Tiangzi, but when he saw a general dressed similar to himself rushing out of the opponent's formation, he had to give up Ma Chao temporarily and fight with the incoming man. The white dragon horse under Zhao Yun's crotch is a top-notch horse trained at the Goguryeo racecourse. It is no worse than Lu Feng's Mo Kailan and Lu Buletin's red rabbit horse. Therefore, it was the last to arrive first and used the momentum of the war horse to hit Wu Yunzhao with a shot. Wu Yun summoned the other party's fierce attack and did not dare to delay. He also waved his spear to block, only to hear a loud click sound. Although both of them did not take a step back, their bodies were still visibly shaken after this blow. Twice. The first round of strength competition between the two turned out to be indecisive. However, Zhao Yun took advantage of the horse's momentum and took the initiative to attack, naturally using all his strength, while Wu Yunzhao took a defensive position, but only used 8% of his strength. Therefore, on the surface, the two sides were almost equal in strength, but in fact, Wu Yunzao's strength still had the upper hand, but the difference in strength between the two was not large, and Zhao Yun could completely make up for it with his martial arts. _Feeler reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending.